So, it is round 4 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. It is a hot, sunny day at Brands Hatch. It is a resurfaced track in part. The red lights are on, and we are racing with a great start made by Jake Hill, who is away like the proverbial stab rat to lead up towards paddock for the first time, with Charles Rainford getting a good launch to go second. And Tom Ingram comes up to have a go round the outside of Adam Morgan for third as they turn through paddock. And it is Ingram who goes right round the outside. A brave pass. Mikey Doble's on the outside of Dan Camish. Look, as they come up towards Druids, Mikey Doble gets ahead of the Ford, tries to stand his ground on the outside line. Look, coming downhill, Sam Osborne is right with them. Camish on the outside. Doble gets a bit stuck behind Adam Morgan, but the Vauxhall is just going to come out ahead of the Ford of Camish.
Yeah, good driving there by Ingram round the outside and Doble. Camish is still fighting it out side by side as they go through Surtees. They're still side by side and coming into the shot now into clearways, and Camish has gained it by having the inside, and teammate Osborne following him through.
Well, exactly. Replace one Ford on the inside with another. Mikey Doble is still in this sort of rolling start formation as Sam Osborne comes up on the inside, heading up towards paddock. Dan Lloyd drops back a little bit. Ash Sutton's already up to 10th, 3 places gained on the first lap. He's going great guns.
But Ingram is absolutely flying, despite the formation start by the 2 BMWs, and hats off to Charles Rainford for getting a great getaway under pressure from the front. Ingram is immediately onto his tail for second place.
Now, we haven't really touched on the allocation of boost, but just quickly, the relevant ones up front. Jake Hill's got 10 laps on which he can use the boost. Tom Ingram has only got 6, and Dan Camish has 8. So Tom Ingram, who is already right on the tail of Rainford for second place, is going to wait till the end, presumably, to use that boost just in case there's a late race safety car. What he's doing now is on natural Hyundai pace.
Yeah, well, what he did show in qualifying is that he doesn't need a lot of boost to do the lap time, so which is great news for him. It'll also keep those tyres in good shape.
Big move on the inside there. That's Dan Lloyd going 8th at the expense of Darrell De Leon. Look, the Restart Racing Hyundai number 1, 2, 3 up the inside of the almost all-white BMW. Ash Sutton right there behind. 13th he started, and Ash currently in 10th. And bear in mind that he's only got 5 laps on which he can use the boost as the championship leader.
And if you're not recognising Ash Sutton's car, it's because it's in a new livery for this weekend to celebrate 100 years. There it is, 100 years of Napa. Stunning livery. He's also got the helmet and overalls to match.
New livery, new number. Mikey Doble switches sides, gets up the inside of Sam Osborne, and he's going to get that pass done. Darrell De Leon is all over the back of Dan Lloyd behind as they come up towards the timing line, and we understand that Dan Lloyd is under investigation for possibly a false start. We'll keep you posted. He's just got over the line in 8th place, but if you bang 5 seconds on here, he's going to tumble down the order, especially at this stage when they're all tightly packed. There are the leading BMWs. It is Jake Hill up front, and the margin was 6/10 as they came across the line, and Dan Lloyd, 5-second penalty for a false start.
Oh, that's a shame, but look at the front. Charles Rainford has soaked up that early pressure from Ingram, and is, if anything, catching up with Hill. In fact, he has the fastest lap on the last lap, Charles Rainford.
You talk about Ash Sutton, he's also the leading driver on the hard tyre at the moment from Chris Smiley. Look back, that is from Josh Cook's car, and behind him is Aaron Taylor-Smith. So right now, Josh Cook has put himself a little bit further up the order. He's on that harder tyre as the leaders go by up towards Paddock Hill Bend now. So we're currently working lap number 5. It is Hill from Rainford as Dan Lloyd bites the curb on the inside of Paddock, but he's all over the back now of the forward look of Sam Osborne. Dan Lloyd was just fractionally ahead when they came across the line, but you put the penalty on as well. He's going to tumble even further back, never mind what Osborne has been able to do on the circuit. 7/10 of a second is the margin now between the top 2. Last time around, Hill quicker than Rainford. In fairness, you would anticipate it. He's far more used to a WSR run and built BMW touring car than Charles Rainford in only his 2nd BTCC event.
Yeah, but look, I can't praise Charles Rainford enough. He's hanging on, matching for pace. Hill, and look, I mean, he's absolutely flying. He looks fantastic. He looks absolutely at home in this car. Yes, he's come from a rear-wheel drive Porsche, but to step into this car and run at the front of this field is hugely impressive.
And he's done a new lap record, not just the fastest lap, but with the cars being lighter now with that hybrid and this resurfaced part of the track giving more traction, a new lap record to Charles Rainford, and that is quite something. Right, he's staying with his teammate. He's got a little bit more boost to use, 2 more laps worth, but they've both got to be mindful of the charging Ingram. The Hyundais look so quick at Donington. They look so quick here this weekend. Now, okay, the grid may not show that, but you have to bear in mind partly the knockout system, partly the amount of boost you're allowed through qualifying, depending on what you did at Donington. But now we're seeing Ingram absolutely charging. Adam Morgan is 4th, Dan Camish 5th, Mikey Doble is 6th. 7th is Osborne, 8th on the road is Lloyd, 9th is De Leon, 10th is Sutton. Now this is Tom Chilton's view, but he's a long way back.
Yeah, he is. There's an element of tyre management already going on. As we see, looking up the inside, this is on board with Josh Cook, and he's got trouble from Taylor Smith.
He has indeed, and then James Dorlin, so the One Motorsport Honda currently is in 16th place, and that's not where Josh needs to be, not only because it's a long way down, but also because he's out of the points. But this is lap 7 out of 24, and if the soft tyre starts to struggle, then those cars on the hard tyre should be able to buy back places. Replay here of Ronan Pearson's Toyota diving up the inside of Michael Crease. Nice move.
That was a great move, and he made it stick, didn't run wide. Look at the lights flashing as drivers are on the boost coming down the start-finish line. Ingram is regrouping a little bit at the moment, but there is definitely an element of tyre management going on, certainly for the soft tyres, not for someone like Ash Sutton, who, as you say, needs the hard tyre runners. His last lap time was a 48.4. The leader's doing 48.0. It's about half a second quicker.
See Aidan Moffat getting up past Tom Chilton, both on the hard tyre. Aidan Moffat for the back of the grid up into 19th. Gordon Shedden started 24th. He's only up to 23rd. Gordon is still struggling.
Yeah, well, we heard various reports about damper problems in qualifying or this and that and the other, but the pace hasn't come in this first race, has it?
No, absolutely. There are the leaders, with Ingram then closing up onto the back of Rainford, 4/10 of a second, and now Tom Ingram's last lap quicker than the two ahead of him. Now, he's still got 6 laps of boost to use. Jake Hill has got 6 laps of boost to use as well. Charles Rainford has got 8 more to use. Adam Morgan has got the full 12 still to go, and he's in 4th place, so he's saving it to the very end.
So it looks like Hill's used 4 laps of boost just to get a little bit of a gap, knowing that he had more than the others anyway. But he hasn't established a huge gap, and they've all got plenty of boost left to come.
Yeah, 7/10 of a second is what it is. Now let's see as they come out of Clark Curve to the eye. He looks to have gained a little bit of ground on this lap, but it could be because Ingram looks closer to Rainford. Morgan in 4th, falling away a little bit, but still getting a good haul of points. He seems much happier, Adam Morgan, in a front-wheel drive car than he has in the BMWs of recent seasons. 5th is Camish, Doble is 6th, now Sutton still 10th. His last lap, a 48.3 and a 47.9 from Hill. The margin between a hard and a soft lap time is coming down. That's Aidan Moffat ahead of us. You're on board with Chilton. That's where Moffat spent qualifying in the gravel, and he has a big moment again, just cuts across in front of Chilton, but they then lose places, don't they, to the Toyota then?
Yeah, that was a good save, but not where you want to be, out wide. The track is quite dirty out wide. And he got dragged into the gravel. But interesting, the top 8 cars are virtually all doing exactly the same lap time to within 1/10 of a second, which is why I believe there's an element of tyre management going on.
Well, the last lap of the race has just been the best by Charles Rainford as he comes across the line. Another new lap record, and Charles Rainford now has got the gap down to just 0.4 of a second against Jake Hill. So Charles Rainford certainly wants to be on the podium, but he's already thinking maybe that top step view is better than the view from the second step.
Yeah, but maybe he's using a bit too much tyre to do it. We'll see. It may be a little bit of gung-ho from the rookie, but it's a hugely impressive performance.
So the last lap he did was a 47.6. Ash Sutton did a 48.5. So 9/10 difference. Remember that Sutton is on the hard tyre, the best placed. This is Gordon Shedden's onboard view as he sees Max Hall getting up the inside of Tom Chilton at Druids. That one, the prize is open the door. Shedden goes through. Chilton having already been delayed, remember, by Moffat coming across the front of him.
Yeah, good move by Max Hall though. Nice dive up the inside, nice and clean. Another rookie making a big impression in the BTCC.
So Jake Hill stretching the margin to 6/10. Of course, Charles Rainford has this, in a sense, double-edged situation. He wants to catch Hill. In doing so, of course, he pulls away from Ingram, which is therefore keeping him in second place. The closer he gets to Hill, if he then gets a bit stuck, that enables Ingram to come back at him, and he has to go defensive. So a lap on the boost gets him away, stretches that margin again.
He's just got to manage that boost. Obviously, the engineers can give some advice on how many laps have been used, but not when they're on it, so they can't use it unless they can see the other car actually on it. The man I think will be very happy is actually Adam Morgan, sitting in fourth place, because he's not under too much pressure. He can let the others fight it out, manage his tyres, and if he finishes in fourth, he'll be the first car on softs to race to.
Absolutely so, and likes front-wheel drive. Dan Rowbottom is there going over the line in the Napa Racing UK Ford, just ahead of Josh Cook. They're both on the hard tyre, and they're also fighting for the final point. And just to add to Gordon Shedden's woes, 22nd he runs now. He's been given a driving standards flag for track limit offences. When it's not your weekend.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when it's not going well, it really snowballs, doesn't it?
Now, Adam Morgan has just done the absolute best of anybody in the first sector. That's the first half of the lap. So there he is in fourth place, looking good. He's certainly shaken off Camish as these soft tyre shod cars preserve the tyre life. Morgan using all of the boost on that lap. It didn't turn out to be a quicker lap than Charles Rainford's earlier best, though, but he's very much in touch. And again, to go back to what we were saying about managing the boost and the gaps, Morgan trying to stay ahead of Camish to therefore be the best of the drivers on the soft on the grid for race 2. Remember, the top 3 have to use the hard tyre.
But it shows the boost is very effective to the tune of a couple of 2 or 3 tenths of a second. He did his personal fastest lap, did Morgan, on that last lap using that boost. So managing the boost is very important.
It is indeed. As you look there at Chris Smiley and Stephen Jelly, this is for 12th and 13th places. Chris Smiley's Hyundai topped FP2, but then he had a little touch of understeer, the team was saying, after the qualifying session, so it wasn't perhaps where he expected to be, but even so, 11th on this very compact and very tight grid was not a bad effort. We've already got to lap 15 as the door is opened, and Stephen Jelly, acquainting himself again with front-wheel drive machinery, has a look up the inside. It is Honda versus Hyundai as they come across the line. Behind the pair of them is Michael Crease. Ahead of the pair of them, it is Ronan Pearson in the best of the Toyota Gazoo Racing UK entries. There are 2 more diving into paddock, where you've got James Dorlin and Aaron Taylor-Smith squabbling over 16th and 17th places.
Yeah, with Dan Rowbottom just behind them, he's not really enjoying those hard tyres at all, is he?
No, Rowbottom's dropped back on that lap because he was ahead of Cook, remember, so Cookie now in 15th and in the points. Toyotas are side by side, and ATS gets back ahead of Dorlin. Rowbottom behind. He may have had a moment somewhere, which is why he's lost so much track position. Look at Morgan all of a sudden. He is right onto the back of Ingram. We've been talking about how well Adam Morgan has been going, and he's certainly been using the boost of late because he's still got 9 laps of it to use, but he's right up now with the top 3.
He is. I'm just wondering what he's actually thinking in terms of where he wants to finish and how much boost he wants to use. Pretty much equidistant, the front 4, aren't they? But I think they're just trying to get to the last few laps before they show all their pace on the tyres. Smiley, we were watching him just now fighting off, but he's actually the second runner on the hard tyres.
Nick Hamilton in replay, having a moment at Clark Curve, bouncing back onto the road, and there you see the returning Nick Halstead just going past him. Nick Halstead racing here last week in the McLaren Trophy Europe, twice a class winner with Tom Holland. Had a good day, good weekend with Nick Halstead. So, Tom Ingram under attack from Adam Morgan. Now, is Tom Ingram thinking about this, and is he pondering the fact that he has less boost than his teammate? So were he to let Adam Morgan go, he wouldn't have to worry about the hard tyre in the next race. I'm sure that Tom and Spencer Aldridge, his engineer, have already had that discussion, and this might be one that Tom is quite happy to let go.
Yes, we might see the slowest last lap from Ingram because they haven't got Camish very close to them behind, so they could be slowing down each of them, trying not to finish third. I mean, it could be a ridiculous situation to watch, but that's the way the regulations are set. Hopefully they'll just race to the end.
We'll wait and see. Takes you back to the early days of reverse grids, doesn't it? Jason Plato at Thruxton trying to go as slowly as possible, so he would be on pole on the reverse grid. Again, you see which of the drivers that just want a result or are thinking long-term about the day and long-term about the championship. So there are the Hyundais running together, the Accelerate cars that come out of the Team Virtue stable, and it is Hill still leading by 7/10 of a second from Charles Rainford, and then Tom Ingram third, Adam Morgan fourth. Big gap back, 3 seconds behind them is Dan Camish. We have had history, of course, in hot temperatures of Ford Focuses having punctures around the Brands Hatch Indy circuit, so maybe Dan Camish is just being ultra cautious and banking the points that he can. You're looking further down at Aidan Moffat and Dexter Patterson, this Scottish fight for 19th place.
Well, so far Jake Hill has controlled this race. Remember, this was his first ever pole at Brands Hatch that he had here. He had his first podium in BTCC here at Brands Hatch as well.
Nick Hamilton has pitted after his gravelly moment. Driving standards flag now for Aaron Taylor-Smith for track limits. Paddock Hill Bend, out of which they have just come. Graham Hill Bend, into which they will turn at the bottom of this hill, are the two key areas here for running wide. There's a nice curve here that sort of invites you open arm to run wide onto it, but if you do, then that might be a track limit offence. Dan Lloyd still running 8th on the road, but that 5-second penalty will be applied post-race, and it's going to drop him down the order, so others will gain as a legacy of that.
Just looking at lap times, last time round, Rainford was quickest to the front to basically a 48 dead, and looking at Sutton, he's doing 48.7. So there's still that, still at half, 3/4 of a second gap in pace.
Yeah, that lap of Sutton's 4/10 slower than his earlier best. So you're looking at the leaders, where Jake Hill looks to have all this under control. The two BMWs with 5 laps of boost available to them respectively, so they're on equal footing there. And then behind the two Hyundais, Tom Ingram, Adam Morgan, they are also with 5 more laps of boost to use. We are on lap number 20 out of 24. It's been a clean green race so far. This is the 4th round of the championship. Only once this year have we had the safety car deployed, and you look here at the fight between Dan Lloyd, Sam Osborne, Darrell De Leon, 7th, 8th, 9th on the track, but of course Osborne and De Leon will gain courtesy of the 5-second penalty for Dan Lloyd's false start.
Yeah, and a fantastic qualifying from Sam Osborne. He was actually only knocked out of the second stage of qualifying by teammate Camish. But he's really going well this year. The relationship with Rory Butcher helping him, and his engineer Richard as well, really working very well indeed.
That's right, his best ever qualifying yesterday. Sam Osborne was pretty buoyed by that, and he's racing well also. So you can see he's getting stuck in against Lloyd, defending from De Leon as they're the leading BMWs now on lap 21. So Jake Hill, who was a winner the last time we came to Brands, of course, the day that he took the title, 20 race wins, a 21st beckons for him potentially, with Charles Rainford set for his best ever finish in a touring car. Tom Ingram looking at 3rd, Adam Morgan 4th, and this quartet, as I said earlier on, were 3 seconds up the road. The gap's come down a bit, 2.8 seconds over Dan Camish, but it's still a monster gap. Back on board with Moffat, he's right on the tail of the Unlimited Motorsport Cupra of another returnee, that's Dexter Patterson.
Yeah, obviously Aidan Moffin really ruining his mistake in qualifying when he clipped the curb at Paddock and put himself in the gravel, causing a red flag, causing him to be taken out of qualifying and start at the back. He knew he had a quick car, the other two BMWs, or 2 of the others, on the front row, so he's making amends in this race.
Always races better than he qualifies, does Aidan. Today he needs to, but Dexter Patterson in a quick car, that Cupra, going nicely. Unlimited Motorsport is a team that kind of goes under the radar and doesn't get the credit it deserves, but in a short space of time it's become a really good, strong BTCC team. Good drivers this year, the Cupra's developed, of course, so cars they know how to operate. Dexter Patterson going nicely. Max Hall, teammate, a bit further back, 23rd, and Nick Hamilton, I'm afraid, must have done some damage because the trip through the gravel put him in the pits, and there he has stayed. Look at this for 3rd. Ingram has dropped back off the BMWs, and Adam Morgan's dropped off the back of Ingram a little.
Yeah, I think they realise they're not going to beat the BMWs, and just playing a little canny game perhaps of who finishes 4th, and I think Morgan dropping back is a good sign that he wants to do that. But I have to give credit to Goodyear, because these soft tyres have held up extremely well as we're about to start the last lap. There's been no problem at all in these hot conditions. The tyre has not only been durable, it's been faster than the hard tyre throughout this race, and hats off to Goodyear, Mickey Butler, for the recommendations on maximum cambers, minimum starting pressures that they've given all the teams to make sure they survive this race.
So for the final time, up towards Druids goes Jake Hill. Charles Rainford doesn't give the impression of somebody that's going to have a last lap dive here against his teammate. He's going to bank the points in his best finish, and Jake Hill, as the team leader, the reigning champion, looks like win 21 is around the next corner but one, effectively. And for 3rd, well, it is still Tom Ingram. So 4th, Adam Morgan. Remember, the point about why you want to be 4th is you'll be on the better, faster tyre for race 2. The top 3 drivers in any race 1, any venue, have to carry the hardest available tyre into the next race. So Jake Hill accelerates up towards the line. Jake Hill wins at Brands Hatch. The reigning champion claims glory in race 1 of the day. Charles Rainford Moffat second, Tom Ingram third, and a happy Adam Morgan is fourth. Look at the gap they pulled over. Dan Camish heading to the line in fifth. Then you've got the battle between Chris Smiley and Michael Crease. That's going on at the moment for 12th place. Across the line for 6th was Mikey Doble. 7th on corrected time, Darryl De Leon. 8th, Sam Osborne, down to 9th, Dan Lloyd. Ash Sutton 10th, Ronan Pearson 11th, Chris Smiley 12th, from Crease, Jelly and Cook to round out the point scorers. And Aidan Moffat, after his disappointing qualifying, is going to come through still behind Dexter Patterson. So out of the points, you've got Taylor Smith ahead of Dorlin, Rowbottom 18th, Patterson 19th, Moffat 20th, Gordon Shedden 21st. Tom Chilton had a disappointing race as well. That car just didn't seem to have the fight in it that the really quick Hyundais on the soft tyre did of Ingram and Morgan, or indeed the restart cars. Behind Chilton, there was Max Hall and Nick Halstead bringing up the rear. Nick Hamilton was the one retirement from the race. But Jake Hill made it look easy. I'm sure he'll tell Louise that it wasn't in the temperatures and having to manage tyres and manage boost, but that's a brilliant start, not only to the day, but now to kickstart the title assault. Yes,
he's back, isn't he? And it shows us that on hot days and on tracks that suit them, they are absolutely going to be a threat. And it's also congratulations to West Surrey Racing, who take their 133rd team win. Makes them the highest all-time team winners. So congratulations, West Surrey Racing. And congratulations to Charles Rainford on his first podium. A superlative drive.
Absolutely, yes. And you're right, 133rd victory for the team, but also a 1-2 finish. You know, if you're going to have a win, why not have a 1-2 as well, just to ram everyone's nose into it. The cars go through the technical check. Let's look at the results of round 4. Jake Hill wins at Brands Hatch. Charles Rainford, BMW stablemate, second, and Tom Ingram in third. Fourth, Adam Morgan ahead of Dan Camish. Sixth, and the winning independent driver, that's Mikey Doble, with Darryl De Leon, Sam Osborne, Dan Lloyd, and Ash Sutton rounding out the top 10. Sutton the best of those on the harder tyre. 11th, Ronan Pearson. The point scorers completed by Chris Smiley, Michael Crease, Stephen Jelly, and Josh Cook. Aaron Taylor-Smith 16th ahead of James Dorlin and Dan Rowbottom. The top 20 rounded out by Dexter Patterson and Aidan Moffat. In 21st was Gordon Shedden. Tom Chilton 22nd. Max Hall was next ahead of Nick Halstead. And we lost Nick Hamilton with the problems after he had that trip through the gravel. And hopefully his Unlimited Motorsports Cupra is going to be good for race 2. So what does this do to the championship? It puts Tom Ingram at the top now, but only by 2 points from Ash Sutton. Jake Hill's up to third and looking menacing ahead of Dan Camish and Tom Chilton. Dan Rowbottom is sixth with Adam Morgan next. Then Mikey Doble, Chris Smiley and Aidan Moffat round out the top 10. So, of course, still 2 more races to come. Race 2 is going to be really interesting with the drivers switching on to the hard tyre for the top 3 and also the different boost allocations going into the second race of the day. But Jake Hill, a great job done. The winning margin in the end, just 0.6 of a second. The key thing for Jake is that it's not just the win points, it's the pole position point and the 8th bonus point for leading a lap as well. So he's a very, very happy man indeed. Not only is he back, he's back with a big bag full of points. The only spoiler was that Charles Rainford took away the fastest lap point, but goes to see his dad, goes to see Craig Pawley, his engineer, and it's a win for Jake, yeah, but it's a win for the team. A huge amount of effort has been put in over the last couple of weeks since Donington. Well, they didn't do perhaps as much winter testing as some other teams, and maybe they were caught on the back foot a little bit at Donington, but boy, have they had a massive turnaround in fortunes over the last couple of weeks. Lots of applause in the background you can see for Jake Hill as race winner. Goodyear winner's cap goes on, but Charles Rainford celebrating as though he'd won the race, because as Tim has made the point, a superlative drive. Charles, who we've seen in Carrera Cup GB in the last few years, also a prolific historic racer. He takes second place, a great drive, but it is fair to say, Louise, that Jake Hill is back.
Jake Hill is absolutely back, and really quite pleased with that win, and justifiably so.
It was just a really nice race, that one. You know, I mean, Charles was perfect. You know, he was obviously had a bit of pressure from Tom, I think, in the middle, but he held his own. So yeah, great 1-2 for obviously for BMW, and huge thank you to Laser Tools Racing and Motorsport.
Well, a special little bit of history, because I don't know whether you're aware that is win number 133 for West Surrey Racing, which makes them the most successful team in the history of the British Touring Car Championship. That's something special, but it is a mark of the team, isn't it?
It is, and I'm super proud I can get that for the team. You know, I mean, getting the championship last year was something special, but keep busting those milestones like we are, super special.
How was that race? I mean, were you quite confident that Charles was going to stay behind you, or do you think he was going to have a go at you? Or
I mean, we had an initial plan, but you never know. He's a new teammate. You don't know if he's going to stick to it or not. But giving me his credit, he drove perfectly. We had a perfect formation in those first few laps to just get a little bit of a gap. He pushed me quite hard at the end. He had a little bit more extra deploy, but yeah, plain sailing for both of us and a nice way to finish.
well done, congratulations, and especially, I mean, Charles, congratulations. What a special moment, your first ever BTCC podium in only round 2.
Totally. I mean, Jake said it was plain sailing. Didn't feel like that with me, with Tinker and directly behind me. But yeah, no, just amazing from all the boys and girls at WSR. You know, we're just absolutely phenomenal for where we are at Donington Park now, and we've got a racing car. So we've set ourselves well for this today. Just, yeah, looking forward to it now.
Right, we're ready to go. The 5th race of the season in the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. Lights go red. It is blast off with another good start coming from the BMWs. Also away rapidly was Dan Camish. Jake Hill is going to lead on the way up towards paddock. Tom Ingram third. Adam Morgan has dropped back behind Camish, so not a great start. Look at the gap the two BMWs have pulled already. They come through paddock for the first time. Ingram is third, Camish is fourth. Morgan is fifth-ish on the outside line, but he's got Darryl De Leon charging up alongside him as they come into the hairpin for the first time. Safely through. Jake Hill leads downhill for the first time.
Well, one good thing about this hot weather is it's someone getting wide there. That could have been Osborne, but it's further back. But one of the good things about the hot weather is the BMWs can switch on those hard tyres much quicker. Remember, they've always had problems with it in the past when the weather's been cold, but they're away and gone in formation at the front.
I think the car that got all sideways may have been Dan Lloyd's Restart Racing Hyundai as they come up now towards the end of lap number 1. So Jake Hill leads the way. He has one lap fewer of boost than Charles Rainford does, but Dan Camish already up into third. The best of those on that faster, softer tyre. He's cleared Tom Ingram now in 5th place. Darryl De Leon is making good progress. It's Adam Morgan in 6th. He's dropped back in real terms as they head towards the hairpin for the second time. Ash Sutton there right on the back of Mikey Doble. 7th and 8th they are.
Yeah, and Ash Sutton's got that race sort of aggressiveness about him. He's looking for every gap. He wants to make progress quickly at the start of the race.
So far, so good as the cars that can come along. Cooper straight behind Sutton. It's Chris Smiley in 9th. Sam Osborne is 10th. How is Tom Chilton getting on? Well, he was 23rd across the line. Max Hall goes ahead of Dexter Patterson and opens up a gap for Tom Chilton to attack into. He manages to get up alongside Patterson, who comes back at him. Look on the inside. They rub, but Dexter Patterson in the Unlimited Motorsport Cooper is going to hang on to the place.
Yeah, gets good traction off, but it looks like Chilton may be on the boost. Well, Patterson's on the boost. You saw the light flashing, but in spite of that, Chilton's able to draw almost alongside him.
James Dorlin on the hard tyre, dropping back in the queue as well. There is Smiley under attack because right with him now is Sam Osborne. That means, though, that Chris Smiley fends off the forward. Mikey Doble dives up the inside, clatters across the side of the Sam Osborne Focus, but does go through. And then behind you've got Ronan Pearson just being able to keep Dan Lloyd at bay. Now you can start to see that the cars on that harder tyre are just starting to lose the edge because Dan Camish on softs has done the fastest lap of the race. And look how much closer he is now to the BMWs.
And Charles Rainford had a big moment coming out of clearways there. The back end of that BMW stepping out quite violently. A lot less grip on that tyre than he enjoyed in race 1.
So down through paddock, there is still a gap between the BMW of Jake Hill and Charles Rainford, but if Dan Camish can get past Rainford swiftly, then he's in with a shout. And so is Darryl De Leon, because remember, his BMW, well suited to the circuit, is on the better tyre. So Darryl De Leon, never a touring car race winner, has a chance here of a good result. You're on board with Aidan Moffat. His BMW is flying, and that's Dan Rowbottom ahead, and this means you're looking at the fight now for 15th and 16th places.
Yeah, Rowbottom didn't enjoy race 1. Oh, up the inside comes Camish, and Charles Rainford probably won't fight this one. Look, another big slide. See that oversteer for the BMW, but Camish is through, so looks like Rainford is struggling with that left rear hard tyre on the BMW at the moment.
And right with him now is Darryl De Leon, who dives for the inside, came from a bit too far back. Charles Rainford tries to give his teammate enough room, and Sam Osborne does indeed get a 5-second penalty for a false start, as Tim was fearing. Up the inside goes De Leon, and a big dive from Adam Morgan as well. He will go through on the inside line. Morgan lost out on the opening lap, but he's fighting back now, trying to make amends. So Sam Osborne is 10th on the road. You apply the penalty for being slightly out of position at the start, and he will drop even further down the order. Camish then on a mission. Morgan, fastest man on the circuit, new fastest lap of the race.
But here we see a replay. Camish lining it up. Obviously he's got more grit. Rainford doesn't fight him too hard, and watch the slide. Watch the slide as he comes out. There, look at that. Wow. really putting the power down hard there. But yeah, Camish safely through. I think Camish just used a couple of laps to bring his tyres in nicely, as did Morgan. But it won't be too long before Camish is putting the same sort of pressure on Hill.
So race order is Jake Hill ahead of Dan Camish. Third is Daryl De Leon. Fourth, Adam Morgan. Fifth, Charles Rainford. Sixth, Ash Sutton, with Chris Smiley, Mikey Doble, Sam Osborne and Tom Ingram rounding out the top 10 on the road. Remember, Osborne has got a penalty. You've still got 3 of the 4 drivers on hards in that top 10, and a big sort-out sub. Osborne goes one side. There's contact there that fires Chris Smiley way across the grass, and he's having a huge moment. It's Dan Lloyd, in fact. So apologies, Dan Lloyd's restart Hyundai is the one that got clipped onto the grass, but that was just everybody going for the same piece of tarmac. They managed more or less to survive, except for poor old Dan Lloyd, who yet again is the one that gets roughed up. There's his teammate Chris Smiley diving into paddock with Ash Sutton just ahead of him. This is now for 6th place, but that could have been a lot worse on Cooper Straight.
It looked nasty. We've seen big accidents there in the past, haven't we? But Dan Lloyd was the unfortunate one. He was trying to take avoiding action, but of course he's now... Oh, and we've got an off at paddock.
Big off at paddock with lots and lots of dust settling then, so there's a car well and truly beached in the gravel as the leading cars come onto Cooper Straight. You're riding with Aidan Moffat here, and that's Tom Ingram. Safety car deployed. Safety car is on track as round the outside goes Moffat as he made the move stick before the safety car comes onto the track. Yes, he has. He goes through. Wheel lifting ahead of him was Mikey Doble. But the safety car deployed because we've got the 2 teammates, Max Hall and Dexter Patterson, in the gravel. And that's not going to go down well in the camp, is it?
No, the team like that, they don't need expensive repairs, and they definitely don't need non-finishes from both their drivers.
And they don't need the non-finishes to be caused by another driver from the team. Dan Lloyd looked rejoining, but a lap down. I suspect with all the grass, the thing was off the clock temperature-wise, so he had to come in and scoop that out. Max Hall, with broken front right suspension, as you can see, trudges away, and this might take a while to get both of those cars out of the gravel, and they've gone a long way through the gravel.
Yeah, they're both buried, aren't they? We'll have to. It may have been an innocent mistake, but they were both on the soft tyre, so it wasn't as though there was a tyre difference there. Look, teammates going to have a word with each other. All looks not friendly.
No.
Not friendly at all.
So the marshal now has to try and mediate between the two, and with lots of head shaking, the drivers head away. We have the cars in the gravel. The snatch vehicle is on its way, but as you see, they've gone a long way through the gravel. There is Dexter Patterson, who was very nonplussed by all of that, and Max Hall likewise. So the 2 teammates out of the race, and would be interesting to be a fly on the wall when both drivers get back to the team debrief at the end of the race.
Well, hopefully the temper will have cooled a little, but in these temperatures it's not going to be easy. But clearly we don't know the cause of it, so let's not surmise what might have happened, but certainly not the result from this race that Unlimited Motorsport wanted. Let's just recap at the front. Hill still leads on the hard tyre with Camish right behind. Obviously the field will close right up again. De Leon in the second BMW, but the first BMW on softs is in third. Morgan is in fourth, and Rainford on the hard tyre in fifth. Ingram has slipped back to 12th on his hard tyres. He's obviously not wanting to be involved in any shenanigans at all. It may be a struggle for him to add to his 4 points podium finishes on the trot.
Indeed so, because with everybody bunched up behind him, he will be in jeopardy of losing more places before the end. The BMWs, in contrast, haven't yet dropped away in the same vein that Ingram's Hyundai has done. Remember, with the safety car out, we can add a maximum of 3 laps on, so the cars come out of Clearways into Clark Curve. And Dan Lloyd is hugely frustrated about his part in the drama on Cooper Straight because it dropped him off the lead lap. He's back circulating, but falls off the lead lap, so he likewise is going to be way out of the points.
Interesting looking at the lap times. The best lap for Hill on the hard tyres is a 47.9. And the best lap of the race, the fastest lap, Morgan on the soft tyres of 47.6. So only 0.3 of a second difference. So that hard tyre is working actually very well on the BMWs. It's coming very good.
So Jake Hill, race leader, with the field currently working lap number 10. And looking a little bit further down the order, there is Tom Chilton making his way up towards Druids. while we're behind the safety car, let's try and grab a word with Tom Chilton if we can. Tom, currently 18th, progress being made, but it's still quite hard by the look of it.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to make 4 places. Had a couple of really good, enjoyable overtakes. But it's not easy, but I've now caught up to the group again. Well, I have now the safety car, but I had just before that. And I felt that I was very fast, so for sure it's going to be exciting to get the race underway, because I think we're strong. I think we've got a great car under us.
What's been the strategy so far with the boost? Have you been using much of it? Has that been to try to get you through the traffic, or have you been saving it to use should there be a safety car?
Yeah, I wanted to use a bit at the beginning to get past a few, and then I was waiting for people's tyres to go off and then use it to overtake. I was a bit frustrated that I used some on that lap the safety car came out, because I didn't know it was going to come out, so I kind of feel like I lost a lap there.
Okay.
But that is frustrating, but that's part of racing sometimes.
Right, we'll leave you to it. We're going to go racing soon, I guess. Thumbs up then from Tom Chilton. And he talks about gaining places. Well, he has been chipping his way up the order. Here was one pass. This was against Dexter Patterson.
Yeah, who at the time, look, has got Max Hall running in front of him. In fact, running very much a blocking manoeuvre. Well, they were definitely getting stuck into each other. Look, already Patterson and Hall. That opened the door for Chilton to go through, but that might have been a precursor of what transpired a little bit later between those two teammates. Indeed so.
Right, so that was 2 places gained in one fell swoop for Tom Chilton.
And that's the bunch in front of you that he was talking about getting on the back of. Of course, the safety car will close everybody up prior to the restart at least. And don't forget, we have a new safety car restart procedure now in place for this year, so the cars will not be able to accelerate until they come out of clearways and get to the restart line. So that will keep the cars bunched up much closer on the restart. We've still got Max Hall's car to be removed from the gravel. They're going to use the lift, the roof hook lift, so it's going to take a little while just to get that fixed up.
Indeed so. That was the car that seemed to have more front right corner damage. How is the Aidan Moffat BMW getting on? 11th currently. So Aidan, as often he does on race day, rebuilding. He started 20th on the grid. He was, 25th on the grid for race 1, 20th on the grid for race 2, and he's now up into 11th, working towards maybe lucking in on the reverse grid.
Well, he's already into that lucky 12, one of which will get the pole position for race 3, so he's already achieved that. The higher up he gets, the greater chance for a front position on the reverse grid. So going well, Aidan Moffat.
Not done yet, of course, as across the timing line they come. The recovery operation almost done. Down at paddock there you can see the other crippled Cupra being moved away, and drivers not standing next to each other, rather pointedly. They are yards apart there. So,
yes, the body language is not let's go for a beer later, is it?
No,
definitely not.
There is no kissing and making up yet. So we're very shortly able to go back racing, because once the Cupra is in a safe place, so too will be the snatch vehicle. And already the lights are out on top of the safety car. So Ian Watson, the clerk of the course, wanting to let them go this time around. So the safety car will accelerate away to the pit lane. Jake Hill absolutely storms away by getting a big gap. Now Dan Camish got a problem, because he slowed right down, and others were looking to try to find a way past him, which you're not meant to do. But he has stopped. He stopped, and there's almost a traffic jam behind him. Look, Aidan Moffat has got into the back of him and has only now got going. Look at the damage on Camish's car. It has stopped on the track, and this is going to make the safety car stay out potentially. Well, it's coming to the pit lane, but Camish is stranded on the track. There's broken suspension, possibly, where he was hit in the back. What's going to happen now? He's got the car moving slowly, crab-like. We go racing, and Daryl De Leon is going to make a move for the race lead. Look, coming up towards Paddock Hill Bend, and the safety car has been called again.
That's because Camish has stopped once again in a very dangerous place, so no way. I mean, you're not obviously supposed to overtake under the safety car, so the cars behind were queuing up behind him. Hill hadn't actually gone, he was just keeping up the pace of the safety car, and all of a sudden Camish stopped. A couple of cars ran into the back of him, and they need to recover that car now. What a disaster for Camish. Second place, looking in line for a possible win. He doesn't have much luck, that boy, does he?
He does not, and you talk about Donington being somewhere that he has very bad luck. Well, Brands Hatch as well. In fact, maybe it's just everywhere in a touring car these days. But the safety car deployed again. and there's an element of disbelief in the Napa Racing UK garage and for the man himself as well, as Dan Camish gets out of the car and has a look. It could have been something electrical that he was trying to sort, but with suspension damage, there's no chance of getting going now. Here you are again. Look, Jake Hill accelerates. Dan Camish can't go with him. It suddenly becomes apparent to some of those behind that the car has a problem.
Charles Rainford doesn't know what...
Darrell de
Leon doesn't know what to do. Eventually they do go past.
And then Aidan Moffat in a moment is amongst those. Yes, Mikey Doble as well, that just had nowhere to go as the pack split and bang into the back of him. So let's have a look from how the traffic saw it. This is on board with Tom Chilton. He's getting ready to go racing, and then all of a sudden there's a traffic jam ahead of him.
Yeah, completely unsighted, obviously, but gets through. They're going to have to shuffle some of these positions as well, aren't they? Get the cars back in the line they were. This is on board with Moffat. It's Mikey Doble that I think gets the big hit. Thinking, what do I do? What do I do? Oh.
Bang, bang. It hits two of them.
Yeah, that was... I'll be amazed if there isn't more damage on both cars.
This is how Gordon Shedden saw it, with cars scattering all over the place. We're understanding from Louise in the pit lane it's an ignition issue for Camish. Keeps cutting out, but the bigger problem now is they've not just got that, they've also got the suspension damage to sort out for race 3, and he's going to be at the back.
Yeah, it's a double whammy,
absolutely.
Isn't it? From a potential race win and a good day, he's now got a disastrous day. And that may even be the rear subframe, which could make it difficult to change for the race 3.
So we'd already had one relatively lengthy safety car period. We now have another, and the number of laps to be added on is going to be limited, of course. So we may not get too many racing laps out of this. Up towards Druids they go. The race order is still Jake Hill ahead of Darrell de Leon. Now all of this is rather helping Jake because it's taking away the number of green flag laps away the other side of the safety car, which means there's less time for him to try to hang on in there.
Yeah, exactly. And if he does start to fall back because the others are quicker on the tyre, there's less time for them to pass.
Precisely.
But in fact, that BMW is going well on the hard tyre. As I said, the lap times look pretty good. He's certainly managing it well. This has obviously helped the soft tyres in terms of them not being at such a risk in the end of the race. Here comes Dan Camish into the pit lane. He didn't have a long walk, did he? That's the only bonus out of that.
And Louise is there, but I'm not sure Dan's in the mood to talk at the moment. Very, very disappointed indeed. So Darrell de Leon in second place is the best of those on the soft tyre. He has never won a British Touring Car Championship race before. There he is. And the driver from the Philippines may be on for victory. You never know, because although Jake Hill is a class act, he's just on the slower tyre. It is Adam Morgan in third place. He's on the soft as well. Pete Osborne, who runs the Alliance Racing team that operates the Napa Racing UK Fords, commiserates with a very disappointed Dan Camish. He just, again, can't believe the luck he has. Charles Rainford runs fourth at the moment. Ash Sutton is fifth. Chris Smiley is going really well in sixth. When the lights go out on top of the safety car, that's the indication that we're ready to go racing. There's the car to move. There might also be just a little bit of debris to be swept up as well, but I think that might have now been addressed.
There's absolutely nothing you can say to a driver to console him in that situation. Nothing you will say that will actually take away the way he feels, which is, you know, it's not just this race, it's this weekend and potentially this year. Yeah. Because when you do lose what could have been a potential win, certainly a podium, that's a lot of points lost from this race and the next one.
So the pack comes across the line. That now puts 17 laps in the book of the original 24. We are anticipating 3 being added on for this effectively one long safety car period. And we touched on Aidan Moffat a little bit earlier on. He's into the top 10 now with the demise of Dan Camish. Everybody behind shuffles up a place. So 25th he was on the grid. He managed to get himself to 20th in race 1. And now Aidan Moffat running in 10th. A bit like Donington, who rebuilt that over the course of the races.
A reverse engineered weekend in the sense that you're aiming everything for race 2 and 3, particularly race 3. You know, that's what he's trying to do. He's got that damage. As long as that bodywork doesn't start flapping, because remember we have a no bodywork flapping rule in this now. It looks pretty intact, doesn't it? So I think he's okay. We haven't got the coolers at the front of the car that we had for the hybrid system in the past, so that is a good thing. it looks pretty intact to me.
So there is Aidan Moffat, goes through. So we've lost Dexter Patterson, we have lost Max Hall. They were in the earlier incident, and then Dan Camish's technical issue plus damage and a stranded car triggered the second safety car period, although it's effectively all one long one. We're going to go racing this time, we understand. Track is clear, recovery vehicles are off track, and so the green flag is going to be prepared on the start line for the resumption of the race. There is Tom Ingram, he's on that slower, harder tyre, he's in 11th, and again, like anybody on the hards, willing the race to come to an end before he loses more places, more points in the championship.
Yeah, let's see if we can get this restart underway. Everybody's supposed to stay within 2 car lengths of each other. The speed should remain the same, and that's what they're doing at the moment. There's no accelerating and braking, no more weaving allowed until they get to the acceleration line, which is after this corner.
So Jake Hill comes up towards Clark Curve, then in the all-blue BMW. Just behind him is Daryl De Leon's largely white example. This is where Adam Morgan needs to strike to get himself ahead of De Leon to be the best placed of those on softs. And Jake Hill now accelerates away with everybody bunched up behind him, ready to go racing. And Adam Morgan, look, he's all over the back of De Leon. You can't overtake until you've crossed the timing line. De Leon for the lead on the inside. Up the inside as well goes Charles Rainford on the harder tyre. Daryl De Leon leads a British Touring Car Championship race for the first time. He's ahead as they get up towards Druids with Jake Hill on the inside, Rainford behind him, and Hill goes wide, and that forces Morgan out wide as well, which lets Rainford through. And all of a sudden the man to watch is Ash Sutton, look, because he's right there with the BMWs, and Morgan as De Leon gets away. The BMWs are doubly now acting as 2 corks in one big bottle to hold up everybody else behind and let De Leon get away.
Well, Jake Hill's being obstinate. He wants to get as many points as he can, and this is allowing De Leon to escape, but it does put Hill at risk of being nerfed or turned round. There's only so much fighting you can do, but boy, do I admire the way he goes about his racing.
Well, he's lost out to Charles Rainford as well. Morgan desperately wants to get past them, so does Sutton, but while all of this squabbling is going on, and look, Hill is being the sacrificial lamb for the team, he's stucking everybody up behind him. De Leon is getting away. Charles Rainford is now edging clear in second place, and they are giving, through great teamwork, Daryl De Leon a mighty, mighty advantage as everybody else in the race seemingly is crawling over Jake Hill.
Well, Rainford, don't forget, is on the same hard tyre that Hill is, so he's certainly not helping his teammates. Oh no! Bogle got turned. That was Moffat, I think, that just got into the back of him.
Contact between the two. Mikey Doble then on Cooper Straight. He's not got going yet, but he's about to be. There he is. Then you can see the witness mark. So bad result for Mikey Doble. 27 laps, the new distance confirmed because of the safety car intervention. Right, the race leader, Daryl De Leon, out on his own, comes across the line. And then in second place, Charles Rainford, 2 seconds back. In third now, Jake Hill. Adam Morgan is fourth, but that's going to change. Look, Morgan goes round the outside. So now Morgan released. It's taken him a couple of laps to do it, but he's on target now to try to gain more ground. Here is Sutton up the inside of Hill. Can't do it. Behind them is Chris Smiley in the black and red and blue Restart Racing Hyundai. Look further back. Sam Osborne is about to get mugged by Ronan Pearson, winner of race 3 here last year. That Toyota going well. Clips the curb, but he's gone by.
Got to say, that was a great restart by De Leon. I don't know if there would have been some team conversation on the radio about what was going to happen on the restart, but he signals his intention straight away and went up the inside of Hill at Paddock. Look at the grip advantage that Sutton enjoys there, just coming out of clearways, and Smiley. The BMW is not hooking up now at all.
But Charles Rainford's BMW is still going nicely because his last lap was a personal best, and he is on that hard tyre. So it's De Leon, Rainford, Morgan, Sutton is fourth, Smiley is fifth. There they are. Jake Hill is down into 6th place now. Ronan Pearson's Toyota Gazoo Racing UK entry is in 7th place. Up into 8th is Aidan Moffat, and 9th is about to become Dan Rowbottom, I think, on the inside line. No, it's Sam Osborne, in fact, battling with Josh Cook. Rowbottom is next in the queue. Now for second place, Rainford under attack from Morgan, who needs to get by before Sutton latches onto the tail of the Hyundai.
Yeah, he can't afford to waste any time. He'll have that grip advantage through here that we saw Sutton enjoying, but Rainford actually has that pretty well covered, depending on how much boost they use, as losing another place to James Dorlin is Jake Hill.
Ronan Pearson goes past him as into paddock. Adam Morgan gets past Charles Rainford. So up into second place goes Adam Morgan. and Ash Sutton won't be long before he is looking for a way past Rainford. Moffat's come up the inside of Jake Hill in the background then, so Moffat is still absolutely charging and should clear him as they get up to Druids. Morgan then up into second place, but he's 3 seconds back. Replay here, Aaron Taylor-Smith versus Michael Crease going up towards Surtees. Crease gets elbow towards the foliage, and Gordon Shedden dives up the inside of his teammate.
Yeah, that was actually it was actually Ronan Pearson getting past Hill on the previous lap. But yeah, great opportunist driving by Gordon Shedden. Saw that gap opening up for him, and through he went.
Race leaders then go over the line. Daryl De Leon still up front, and Adam Morgan behind with a new lap record set by Daryl De Leon. 3.5 seconds to the good, 3 laps to go. He's just got to bring this home.
He's driving fantastically, and shame on us for not picking him as a potential winner, but he was 7th on the grid, don't forget.
Ash Sutton through on the inside of Charles Rainford. Chris Smiley following the Ford's every move, so the door is being opened by Sutton, and Chris Smiley tries to follow through. Didn't quite work getting past Charles Rainford, who in a sense is driving even better in this race because he has such a good spirited defence on the wrong tyre, whereas Jake Hill has fallen further back in the queue. Only 1 lap difference of boost. Smiley now clears Rainford. Moffat ought to be able to do the same as Daryl De Leon. He's on for a maiden British Touring Car Championship win and a Brands Hatch Indy Circuit lap record to boot. There he is on his own.
Yeah, out in front, he must be absolutely loving this. What a place to score your first victory. Don't want to jinx it, he's not home yet, but he's driving beautifully.
So there, Aidan Moffat, somebody else that's had a really impressive drive to get himself up the order, goes ahead of Rainford. Now Ronan Pearson tries the outside, and Josh Cook has arrived at the party as well. Cook 8th at the start of this lap, and he is not finished either. Reverse grid's going to be fascinating, that's for sure, isn't it? Drop downhill, go left, this is Cook.
Cook looking to get the cut-back advantage. Will he get enough momentum along Cooper Straight? He does, and turns into Surtees first. Nice momentum coming out of Graham Hill.
Clears 2 cars then. He got past Moffat, he got past Pearson, and Jake Hill being roughed up in the background by Dan Rowbottom as over the timing line goes Daryl De Leon, fastest man on the circuit. Adam Morgan thinking about what might have been. He is second, and Ash Sutton is up into third then. So after a tough qualifying yesterday with limited boost, he's up into third. Chris Smiley is fourth, Aidan Moffat is fifth, but there's still lots that could change on the last lap. Chilton, he's 13th.
Well, when we were at Donington 2 weeks ago, we didn't predict, as Hill gets roughed up even further, we didn't predict 2 BMW victories, did we, in the first 2 races at Brands, but they have come back. BMW are back in the game.
Pearson versus Hill, door opens for Rowbottom on Cooper Straight, so the Napa Racing UK Ford goes through, gets ahead of the Toyota, and Rowbottom will attack Hill. Daryl De Leon wins in the British Touring Car Championship for the first time. A maiden win for Daryl De Leon. Second is Adam Morgan. For third, Ash Sutton. Chris Smiley takes fourth. Fifth across the line is Aidan Moffat. And then for sixth, the scramble comes. Josh Cook, Charles Rainford, then Jake Hill. Rowbottom 9th, Pearson 10th, Ingram, Chilton, Jelly, Crease, Taylor-Smith 15th. What a race.
That was a dramatic race. I can't praise De Leon enough. He drove absolutely impeccably. Morgan also, Sutton up to third on a podium. Look at the team. They are so ecstatic.
And a faultless drive by Daryl De Leon, who arrived in the championship a couple of years ago and just kept his head down and learnt, and with smaller teams, learnt all the nuances of the British Touring Car Championship. Steps up to what you might call the big league this year, but it's hard to find fault with that, just not put a wheel wrong.
And credit again to Charles Rainford, finished the highest hard-placed tyre runner just in front of Jake Hill. Ingram was 11th at the end of the day, Chilton was 12th. So we now await the reverse grid to see who's on pole for race 3.
So Daryl De Leon, there he is, savouring the moment, thinking if only it were a longer lap, because it would be a longer lap to savour before I have to jump out of the car, but there'll be an awful lot of attention on him, that is for certain. Daryl comes down the pit lane then. Adam Morgan, former BMW racer, for second spot, and then Ash Sutton taking third. But Daryl De Leon, former Radical champion, wins at Brands Hatch. Round 5 is won by Daryl De Leon with Adam Morgan second and Ash Sutton third. Chris Smiley fourth and the winning independent ahead of Aidan Moffat, and then Josh Cook in sixth. Great drive by Charles Rainford to be the best of those on the hard tyres, 7th ahead of Jake Hill, also on the hards. Dan Rowbottom 9th, and Ronan Pearson's Toyota rounding out the top 10. Tom Ingram 11th, ahead of Tom Chilton, then Stephen Jelly, with the final two scorers being Michael Crease and Aaron Taylor-Smith. Gordon Shedden got up to 16th, ahead of Sam Osborne, who faded. James Dorlin 18th on his hard tyre. Nick Hamilton 19th from Nick Halstead in 20th. A lap down after a pit stop, Dan Lloyd. Mikey Doble also pitted after his spin, but he survived, unlike Dan Camish, Max Hall and Dexter Patterson. So another interesting race for sure. And for the championship, it changes again with Ash Sutton now getting back to the top ahead of Tom Ingram. Jake Hill third, Dan Camish slips to fourth, Adam Morgan is fifth, Tom Chilton sixth with Dan Rowbottom and Chris Smiley the next pair, and Daryl De Leon now ninth ahead of Aidan Moffat. So Daryl De Leon, very rapid. Carter came into cars in 2021 with two very successful seasons in radical racing, but as he arrives into the technical check area and then into Parc Fermé, when the door opens, it's going to be a very noisy reception for him, I'm sure. The WSR team, after such a tough Donington, come here and 2 races and 2 wins, and you can see they're all grinning like Cheshire Cats. Dick Bennett arrives in the background to come and cheer. Daryl De Leon, a first-time winner in the British Touring Car Championship, stands on the side of the car and punches the air with delight. Part of the British Racing Drivers Club's Rising Stars programme. And again, young talent being recognised. He goes to congratulate the team. And Daryl De Leon with Dick Bennett, the team principal, a first-time winner in the BTCC. Every touring car race has a tale to tell. This will be no different. Round 6 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship is go. Jake Hill launches the car off the line. He's level with the Ford. Charles Rainford makes a great start as well, but Robo is just about going to be able to hang on to the advantage, is he? He's got the inside line. That opens the door on the outside for Jake Hill, who gets the drive round the corner. He's got his nose in front as they head up towards Druids. Rowbottom on the inside, Hill on the outside. If he can stay there, the road will come to him at Graham Hill Bend. Rainford is right with them as well, but no, Rowbottom has done it. He secures the lead into Graham Hill Bend for the first time.
Well, it was an excellent start by Rowbottom to hold off those 2 BMWs. It looked like Jake Hill got the initial launch, but then as they went up through the gears, Rowbottom had just enough. Look at Rainford round the outside at Surtees, now having the inside for Clearways.
And Chris Smiley is up into 4th place as well. So Jake Hill, having been shuffled back a little bit, remember, from 2nd on the grid to 3rd. Smiley is 4th, Moffat is 5th as they come up towards the timing line. Everybody else comes pouring through, but Rowbottom it is who leads the way by 0.1 of a second from Charles Rainford, who's going to dive up the inside. There's contact. Rowbottom's car gets a little bit crossed up, but Rainford elbows out, he's coming through, and so is Chris Smiley trying to come through as well as Rainford gets the inside line for Druids. Rowbottom is not quite going to be able to stand alongside him, so that means that Charles Rainford is in the lead. Rowbottom 2nd, Hill, Smiley, Moffat, then Sutton.
Yeah, some great racing now. Remember in race 1, all these cars at the front were very careful on their soft tyres to look after them. I don't see a lot of looking after the tyres in this one, but it is race 3, it is the BTCC, and the gloves are off.
So they work their way now through the right-hander of Clark Curve up towards the timing line. End of lap number 2. New race leader then, Charles Rainford. Whether or not there'll be anything done about that contact between him and Rowbottom, time will tell. It is Jake Hill in 3rd place, Chris Smiley 4th, Ash Sutton 5th, then Moffat, Cook, Ingram, Chilton and Adam Morgan 10th. Now the leading hard tyre shod car. Right, up towards Druids. This is Tom Chilton's view, and Josh Cook is being shuffled back in the pack, isn't he?
Yeah, Ingram has mugged him on the exit of Paddock, got the cut back and managed to hold it on the way to Druids. I thought that move from Rainford was robust, but I didn't think it was worth a penalty. I thought it was a good touring car move.
Chris Smiley's start will be investigated after the race. It may have been out of position, but the stewards want time to look at the evidence rather than do an in-race penalty. So that's going to hang over Chris Smiley. His teammate, by the way, Dan Lloyd, still in 23rd place, finding it tough to get through the traffic. And Sutton and Moffat go toe-to-toe into Paddock. And Sutton is back through on the inside line. This is Moffat's view into the back of Sutton, who just hangs on to the Ford, and they make contact again going up towards Druids and again through Druids. Come on, Ash, says Aidan, and he gives him a real shove there, but still the Ford won't be unsettled.
Well, one little tap is maybe okay, but 3 or 4 is a bit naughty, Aidan, but Sutton managed to hold him off. Fortunately, in the front-wheel drive car, you have to keep your foot buried on the throttle to stop it spinning.
Big dive up the inside there by the Hyundai. Tom Ingram goes up the inside, so he's level now with Moffat. This is for 6th as they come out of Clark Curve up towards the timing line. Sutton has gone, and Moffat, having tried and failed to get rid of the Ford, now has to go defensive, but even that's not going to work because Ingram's up the inside. Josh Cook's having a tough race. Look in the background, fighting with Tom Chilton. Ingram goes by.
Ingram's through, got that nicely done, using the boost on this lap. You can see the light flashing in the rear quarter panel.
Josh Cook just about hanging on to the position over Tom Chilton. This is Moffat's view, and the back of the Hyundai perhaps less magnetic than the rear of the Ford was.
Yeah, not by much though. He's roughed up both the title contenders, hasn't he, as Aidan Moffat, but he wants to get as much out of this race as he can.
Through they turn then, Sutton just ahead. Tom Ingram is next up then. Here they come towards the line once more. Cook fending off Chilton behind them. But Charles Rainford is still in the lead by half a second. Dan Rowbottom fractionally quicker. What are we expecting Jake Hill's pace to be? He was surprisingly shuffled back on the first lap. He's now regrouping.
Yeah, I think he was probably trying to look after his tyres the way he did in race 1, whereas everybody else was just getting on with it. Clearly, Jake has got the pace. He's sitting pretty comfortably where he is. He just didn't want to push it at the start. That may reap dividends at the end, but can't fault Charles Rainford for going for it. This is a replay of the move. Late move down the inside. He gets... was he level with the door pillar? I don't know. It was close. He wasn't totally alongside, but he certainly opened the door, didn't he?
Yeah, he was up the curb as well, wasn't he? Having said that, he didn't really force the move until Druids, but Dan Rowbottom did his level best to hang on in there. So at the moment it is Rainford, Rowbottom and Hill covered by 1 second. Chris Smiley 4th, but then he's got this Damocletian investigation post-race. In 5th place it is now Tom Ingram, who has got past Ash Sutton. Look, so you've had a reversal there. Sutton is now therefore once again ahead of Aidan Moffat, who didn't like him the first time around.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, when we saw Ingram get past Moffat, he had good pace. He was straight onto the back of Sutton, and he's got past already. Sutton looks to be struggling on all of the... Maybe it's he's not using much boost, but Aidan Moffat, every time, is magnetically drawn to the back of that Ford.
There was extra boost for the Ford, and it's the push for the BMW on occasions. For the moment, Ash has managed to break away. So this is the battle at the moment, going on for 6th, 7th and 8th. Sutton, Moffat, Cook. Behind them is Chilton in 9th place. So from 22nd at the start of the day, Tom Chilton's another one who's rebuilt the weekend. But right now it's only 4 tenths between Rainford and Rowbottom. As up the hill they come, and again Moffat looks for a way past the Ford, gets into the back, and a driving standards flag now to Aidan Moffat. We're not being told it's for track limits though.
No, I think we could probably guess what it's for. Interesting, they both got exactly the same amount of boost left, 6 laps each for Sutton and Moffat. So they can parry and riposte, as we say in fencing.
Like the wee bit. Right up towards Clearways, you can tell that Aidan Moffat's been in a battle. Look at the front of the car next time we have the external shot. This, the view behind. Josh Cook making the run now up towards the line as Jake Hill goes for 2nd place and moves himself up past the Ford. That looked relatively easy.
Yeah, it did. I don't think Rowbottom wanted to take that fight on, did he? Probably feels it's a bit early in the race. He may well be looking after his softs because he doesn't want the non-finish. He wants a good finish out of this points-wise. But it'll be interesting to see what happens if Hill can get back up behind Rainford, because I think after race 2 he felt that Rainford had been a little bit aggressive with him on track and maybe not giving him much room. So I'm not saying there's no love lost there, but we'll see what happens. And of course Charles Rainford desperately wants to win his first race in BTCC to follow up that podium earlier in the day.
Absolutely right, but there is time on Jake Hill's side, is there not, as they come across the line, because look how much he's pulled over Dan Rowbottom already. He really has scarpered in the space of 1 lap, and now it is 6 tenths of a second between the top 2.
Fastest lap went to Ingram actually on lap 8, so he was the fastest man on the track. He's still got some pace, and there it is, a new lap record, 47.1.
Impressive stuff, isn't it, as the lead gap continues to come down. This is the view from Tom Chilton's car. Josh Cook just up the road ahead as they drop down to Graham Hill Bend. But Ash Sutton, with all due deference, he's a kind of cork in the bottle. He's not getting away from this train of cars.
Yeah, it doesn't. There just isn't the pace in that Ford, is there, for some reason? There'll be some head scratching. Maybe the setup change on it hasn't worked for this race with the change from hards to softs, but he hasn't got the pace he'd like. go with Tom Ingram.
So Ingram moving himself past Smiley, that is 4th place. The two similar Hyundais, but run out of different teams, XLR8 versus Restart Racing. And remember that Chris Smiley is still leading the independents battle within this race. Winner in race 2 earlier on, Michael Doble the victor at the start of the day. And Chris Smiley really feeling like he's got the right car underneath him, and he's certainly doing what he wants it to do. This is Josh Cook on Aidan Moffat heading up towards Paddock. The Honda brakes late, dives by.
Yeah, you could hear the engine on the rev limiter. The cars, when they're using the boost, are literally running out of revs on the pit straight when they use the boost. But he was able to get through. And just looking further back, as Hill is now forcing Rainford into defensive driving. So that's got some work to do for the rest of the race. But the distance, look at Chilton, 4th on the road. Remember, he was behind Sutton. He's 150 yards ahead of him in the space of a few laps.
Yeah, Tom Ingram 4th, absolutely flying. As you look at the BMWs then, formation flying here, lots of curb taken, and that unsettles Charles Rainford just a little bit, bounces ever so slightly wide. Flash of the headlights from Jake Hill, saying, just remember who the champion here is. But Charles, racing for himself, would dearly love a race win, but I think that's going to be hard work now, given just how rapidly Jake Hill is going.
And also, you know, both of these guys are bringing their own sponsorship to the team. This isn't a BMW manufacturer team where they can decide on team orders. Both these guys have their own sponsors, and therefore a duty to those sponsors to try and deliver the best result they can.
Now, you've got to go back to 2015 to find the last time that WSR won all 3 races, but with 3 different drivers. That year, it was Andy Prio, Sam Tornoff and Rob Collard at Croft. That's what Charles Rainford, in a sense, is aiming for, to replicate that by 3 of the BMW drivers having a win apiece. That's Josh Cook. He's on the back of Ash Sutton. That Ford's struggling for pace. Josh has had a tough weekend, but he's able to easily stay on the back of the Focus here. Yeah,
there's something not quite right with that Focus in this race for sure. Rowbottom still holding a great 3rd place though. He's been a bit under the weather this weekend, and he certainly didn't sound super confident, did he, coming on the grid? But he's got that man Ingram right up behind him now. It's only a matter of time, one feels, before Ingram finds his way through to yet another podium.
Indeed so. That Hyundai absolutely flying, and in fact, if Ingram can get past Rowbottom in double quick time, he might even be able to get up with Jake Hill, and that would help Rainford. So the outcome of this race largely hinges around Ingram and how rapidly he can find a way past the Napa Racing Ford ahead of him. He goes very wide coming out of Graham Hill Bend there, does Tom Ingram, but he's right on the tail of Dan Rowbottom. The Kidderminster driver then heads up through Surtees, and now the launch comes. Up the inside goes Ingram. There's a gap on the inside. He doesn't need a second invitation. Job done, up to 3rd.
Yeah, lovely move. There's so much grip on that new bit of tarmac there. It's an absolute invite to dive up the inside there. It's a lovely move when you pull that off here at Brands, but Rowbottom didn't put up much of a fight. Here we see a replay. You turn in a little bit later, so you could then turn to the right, straighten your brakes, your steering to brake in as straight line as possible. But it was a really neat manoeuvre. Didn't run wide, even clipped the apex and brought up a bit of dust.
So the gap between Hill 2nd, Ingram 3rd is 2.6 seconds. That's the starting point now. And with Hill stuck behind Charles Rainford, how long is it going to take Tom Ingram to get up there? Driving standards flag for Dan Rowbottom as there. Jake Hill has a cheeky look at the inside. Didn't work for him, sits back behind Charles Rainford. Rowbottom is being warned about turn 1 Paddock, and also Graham Hill Bender's turn 3. Jake Hill on the attack then as they come up over the line. Behind them, Tom Ingram is on the boost, and he wants these two to delay each other for as long as possible. 2.6 has become 2.4 seconds to 3rd.
Well, the good news for Rainford, he may be under attack, but he's got a lot more boost. He's got double the amount of laps of boost left that Hill has got. So the longer he can stay in front, we can get to a point where he can use the boost on every remaining lap. That's going to make it very difficult for Hill.
True enough, and Ingram is still charging along behind. Walk up and down the paddock, and everybody from other teams will tell you how fast those Hyundais look. Well, now we'll really see what pace Ingram has got. The BMWs have looked very fleet of foot all weekend as well, but Ingram in 3rd is chipping away, edging closer, closer, closer. And if he can get onto the back of Jake Hill, then we'll see whether Ingram can harry the BMWs. Up they go now towards Paddock Hill Bend. Charles Rainford leads the way, just 0.6 to the good, and it's It's 2 seconds now back to Tom Ingram. So 2.6, 2.4, 2.0, 3 laps.
Yeah, he's going to run out. Well, he may not run out of time. He may not run out of time. If he keeps that rate of progress, he should be okay.
Ingram's got 4 more laps of boost than Jake Hill ahead of him. There, Tom Chilton losing out to Aidan Moffat. So, Ingram's got more opportunities perhaps to use the extra boost. Chilton fights back on the inside of Moffat. Brilliant fight this going on. It is for 8th place, and the Hyundai now goes ahead of the, how can we describe this, battle-scarred BMW.
Yes, it's... I thought your expression was dog-eared, David.
Variety.
Variety. It's great. I've worked on that over the winter. It's good to see you put in the hard hours there to come up with some new slogans.
It's one of the regulation changes for this year. Change of cliche.
Yes.
Yes. Personally, I avoid cliches like the plague. Right, up to Druids. Rainford it is, just ahead of Hill. 7/10 the margin between them as Jake has to now ponder what his next move is going to be. James Dorling there ahead of Darrell De Leon, the race 2 winner. That's a change for 12th place. James Dorling going really nicely. Still adapting from GT cars to touring cars, but he's up behind Adam Morgan now.
Yeah, the cars he's racing against are on the hard tyre though. Both Morgan and De Leon are on the hard tyre, so good opportunity though for James, who I spoke to down in the paddock at length earlier, and he's really enjoying being back in touring cars, or in the touring car paddock, after years ago driving the Clios of course, but taking some time to adapt to the front wheel drive and to the nature of the racing, but really enjoying being part of the BTCC fraternity.
Right, Tom Ingram in 3rd place has dropped away somewhat by 0.4 of a second. So as Jake Hill ups his pace and closes on Rainford, Tom Ingram for the moment may have plateaued. Let us see whether he can do very much about it as the leaders go through the WSR garage, looking all a bit nervous, as you see in the background. Sean Rainford, Charles's dad.
Well, they're both on the hybrid this time, but Hill's only going to have 1 more lap after this, and Charles Rainford has got 3 more laps after this. So I do think that Charles has got enough in the bag, if you like, both skill-wise. His nerves will be jangling, that is for sure.
That, incidentally, is Smiley versus Rowbottom for 4th place. And Dan Rowbottom did stay ahead, but they've both been caught by Sutton and Cook, and there's a lot of dust being kicked up. There's a slow Max Hall on Cooper Straight as now, look, Smiley has another go at the inside of Rowbottom. Sutton is there as well as they come out of the dust storm up towards Druids. Smiley to the inside of Rowbottom. He will go through, but Robo's got to be careful here not to get shuffled back by Sutton and Cook.
Yeah, Sutton's going to have a little cut back on the end. No, he's going to be pushed to the outside. He's going to go the long way, all the way around the outside. Rowbottom gave him a lot of room there, and that gave Sutton the momentum down the Cooper Straight to get past.
And now Josh Cook tries to work out where the gap may be. Sutton is on the tail of Chris Smiley as they now turn their way up towards Clark Curve. Here comes Cook, look, they're on the boost. You can see the green light flashing in the window as the leaders come up to the timing line. You've got then coming through Chris Smiley with Sutton about to dive up the inside. He goes charging up the inside line and gains the place. Sutton 4th at paddock.
Yeah, that's more like it, but I think in the background it was Josh Cook that created the little gap going into Clearways. He's now got a better one going into Druids.
And Tom Chilton is going to try to follow through as well. So Dan Rowbottom is being shuffled back in the pack, and all of a sudden from 2.4 seconds back, look at Ingram. He's right on the back of Hill, and that is Max Hall in the gravel. So Jake Hill was balked by a struggling Max Hall, who's ended up in the gravel.
Yeah, Jake Hill lost a ton of time there behind Charles Rainford, dropped right back into the clutches of Ingram, but will there be a safety car? Ingram's looking.
So we've got there now 3 laps to go, and Max Hall's car ain't going to drive out of the gravel as you look at the 2nd place fight coming up towards Druids. So Charles Rainford is away and gone. Can he do it? Can he give us 3 different BMW winners in a day, the first time since 2015? Right now you'd say yes, wouldn't you? A safety car now is the last thing that Charles Rainford wants.
Yeah, Charles will be praying there's no safety car. He's got a lovely clear gap behind him. He doesn't need to panic. He can focus on driving his lines just the way that Darrell De Leon did in race 2 and bring home his first BTCC victory in only his 2nd meeting. That's an incredible performance.
To the timing line they come, and Charles Rainford it is then. 2 seconds to the good. Ingram to the outside of Jake Hill. Then as they get into paddock, absolutely together. But Jake comes out the other side just ahead. There's more dust in the air, as you can see. And Ingram is on a big fight. He's almost on the grass as well. Jake Hill has very sharp elbows. He sticks them out and says, no, you don't. Tom Ingram has to stay behind him.
Yeah, he doesn't want to give up any. He feels he's back in the championship now, Jake, with the BMW underneath him. So he's going to race one of his top rivals as hard as possible, isn't he?
Absolutely right. Here they come then up through clearways on towards Surtees and McLaren, and Jake Hill hangs on to the pace. I suspect, looking at what's going on, that the yellow flags are enough to let us run to the very end. So Charles Rainford is away and gone. Now this is what happened to Max Hall. Looks like something broke and he just couldn't make the corner. Did he get a whack?
He's got a puncture on the left front. He's got a puncture on the left front.
Okay.
He was trying to get in the pits and then he swerved away because Jake Hill was coming through and obviously then didn't make it round the lap side by side round the outside. Ingram is not going to pull that one off, matey.
Not for the want of trying though, and this is all to the good for Charles Rainford, who's 2.5 seconds up the road as they come downhill into Graham Hill Bend. Then for the last time, Charles Rainford is going to score a race win in the British Touring Car Championship. It might be a reverse grid race, but he will not care. 3 different BMW drivers to win in a day. First time that's happened since Croft 2015. We don't know what's going to be second, BMW or Hyundai, but we do know that Charles Rainford is going to win at Brands Hatch. It's his 6th touring car race. Charles Rainford, a first-time winner in the BTCC. Jake Hill second, Tom Ingram third. Tim has been praising the efforts of Charles Rainford all day, and deservedly so. 4th across the line was Ash Sutton, Chris Smiley 5th, then it's Cook, Chilton, Moffat with the next man through 9th down Rowbottom, and Gordon Shedden 10th. That's not bad considering he was 24th on the grid for race number 1. But Charles Rainford, a really impressive drive. The rest are still pouring up towards the timing line. Ronan Pearson, who was the equivalent race winner last year, just there being able to keep Sam Osborne at bay. But Tim will now delve into his book of superlatives for Charles Rainford. That was very impressive.
I'm just so pleased because not only has he had pace, he's had calmness about him, he's had humbleness about him, he's had a willingness to learn. And one thing we weren't sure about is how would he adapt to this type of racing.
Indeed.
Everyone said, it's one thing racing Carrera Cup and being fast, but he's got his elbows out, he's not afraid of anybody. I am so delighted to see another star of the BTCC emerge. It's fantastic. We've had him and Daryl De Leon both win their first races. This is absolutely great news.
Just going back to Croft in 2015, Rob Collard, Andy Prio, Sam Tordoff, the drivers that were winning races that day. The championship, I know, has come a long way in the space of 10 years. The young guns are doing it now. There is Sean Rainford, Charles's dad, who is absolutely beside himself as well. Alan Potts from the Aidan Moffat side of the garage congratulating him. Well done, Charles Rainford. What an effort. So the results of round 6 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship illustrate the win for Charles Rainford with Jake Hill second and Tom Ingram third. Ash Sutton 4th from Chris Smiley and Josh Cook. Tom Chilton 7th, then Aidan Moffat, Dan Rowbottom and Gordon Shedden to round out the top 10. Chris Smiley, just to confirm, the leading independent home. 11th across the line, James Dorlin, and then you have the cars on the harder tyre. 12th, Adam Morgan from Daryl De Leon, then Dan Camish, and the last point going to Aaron Taylor-Smith. It was Michael Crease next from Ronan Pearson and Sam Osborne. Stephen Jelly ahead of Mikey Doble. Dexter Patterson for the pit lane, 21st ahead of Dan Lloyd. Then Nick Hamilton, Nick Halstead we lost, and also into the gravel, Max Hall. So, a great day of racing, and Ash Sutton leaves as the championship leader, 5 points ahead of Tom Ingram. Jake Hill third, then Tom Chilton ahead of Adam Morgan, Dan Rowbottom 6th. Dan Camish 7th ahead of Chris Smiley, then Charles Rainford, and Aidan Moffat it is who rounds out the top 10. So now Charles Rainford will go through the technical checks before being released to the team, where a very noisy reception awaits, no doubt. A winner in Carrera Cup, now a winner in British Touring Cars. And it will not be the last win, I'm sure of that. And so much of this weekend, as Charles Rainford steps out of the car to celebrate, so much of this is about BMW. Not only the fact that the 3 drivers have all been in BMWs, but the fact that BMW has been a different brand since what we saw at Donington Park. A huge amount of effort, as we've been saying this weekend, has gone into it. 3 wins for BMW, 3 different drivers, and Charles Rainford celebrates as a touring car winner for the first time, and he will be able to reflect on a maiden British Touring Car Championship win after a slice of birthday cake up here and a break.